experts in human performance. They've worked with elite athletes from all over the world to achieve greatness. They're regarded as top influences in health and fitness. Their show gives you everything you need to become fully functionized. This is the Biohack Human Show.
Hey everyone, it's me again. It's your local mad scientist, Jim. This very special episode today is brought to you by Functionized Integrative Therapeutics. The team at Functionized Integrative Therapeutics makes humans better humans. They make athletes better athletes. And they specialize in pre- and post-concussion care. If you've had your bell rung, go see those guys at Functionized Integrative Therapeutics and they'll make sure that you return to functioning at your peak. Get Functionized at FIT. www.functionised.com. And you can check out their social media as well at Functionized.
Hello, Biohacker Nation. Once again, we're back. Of course, this is Dr. Mike, and as always, with the Mad Scientist.
This is Jim. What's up, guys?
I hope you weren't expecting a response. Oh, we have someone who can respond.
I was expecting a response.
Well, let's get a response. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
We're joined today by Scott with Underground Nutrition, located right now in Marlborough.
Oh, Englishtown.
Excuse me, Englishtown, right on the border.
We say Marlborough sounds nicer.
It does sound nicer.
It all gets there. But yeah, that's Englishtown, Route 9 South.
So, Scott, while you're here, why don't you just give us a little history of Underground Nutrition and how you guys got going in the first place?
Sure. About 5 years ago, I met my partner, Alan, who's not here. I don't want to speak for him today. We met training in a retro, in Neptune of all places. And we developed a friendship. We had both recently stopped drinking, and were a part of the anonymous culture, and we started training together. Ultimately, we both got into powerlifting. Neither one of us were very interested in bodybuilding, mainly because we both like to eat. And we started competing in powerlifting. We did, pretty well. We had a team of guys who would train together and compete in the RPS, and that sort of just developed into he and I wanting to do something business-wise in the industry. And I had taken a job with a corporate supplement company. He was working for a corporate gym. We were both pretty disillusioned with the way things were operated, and we just thought that we could do it better. Initially, we were going to open a taxi company. That did not pan out.
Powerlifting and taxi.
Yeah, we were driving at night to make extra money. We were doing like airport service and party buses, you name it, we were doing it. And we saved up enough money, and we were actually going to buy the company that we were working for. And this was right before Uber had come out. And thankfully, we backed out of it because I think we would have went broke. And we ended up coming up with the idea of opening our own supplement store. And it's been a pretty great success so far. So everything happened pretty quickly once we had made the decision to do that. And ever since then, it's been, hit the ground running.
So when you say you guys are a little disillusioned, what kind of things didn't you like with the standard, the norm of the supplement industry?
Well, I mean, when you talk about corporate production, we'll just say the production of supplements themselves, in my opinion, if you can buy a pre-workout in Walmart, GNC, Vitamin Shop, these have to be mass-produced. I mean, they have to make millions and millions of units. And these are coming from companies that you probably aren't aware of. There's parent companies that own all different companies. You think you're buying C4, and C4 is its own thing, but really they are owned by a much larger parent company whose sole job is, as a corporation, to make money.
Much of it is possible, right?
Which is fine, except they're not looking at it for what's best for the consumer. They're looking at it for bottom lines. So cheaper products, high stims, stuff that people are going to feel but not necessarily get any results from. And it's marketed in such a way that it's, people think that you're going to get certain results that just aren't possible. It's just not going to happen. And then at the retail level, you're dealing with another corporate push to sell specific items that are either expiring soon or they have a high margin on, and there's sales incentives. So when you go into a store and you ask, hey, I need something to lose weight, you're not getting somebody who's going to tell you this is the best for you, unless they're completely ethical and they don't care about money or their job so much. They care about a commission and what the sales incentive of that day is. So it's very difficult to get a good experience in places like that. People catch on, but you don't get the results. You're getting something that's $70 or $80, and at the end of the day, it's a crappy product. So I saw through that, and I did not like it. I never liked it, and I thought if I had owned my own store, I wouldn't have to do things like that. I can sell products I believed in or used myself, or at least they're supported by some sort of science, or at least I can give customers all the information to make their own mind up, So, yeah.
So you're telling me that, like, with all the big names, looking at these awesome-looking models,
Yeah.
they didn't actually use that supplement, maybe?
No. No, it's... No, they don't. It doesn't work. Jane Cutler wasn't taking the Celtec or whatever. Look, I understand it. I get bodybuilders have a very hard time making money doing what they do. It's a very expensive sport.
It is.
So when you have somebody who's offering you $100,000 to say, "Hey, take this protein," I can't even blame them. But you should definitely never buy something based on, who's telling you should take it. It's a bad way to pick your supplements for sure.
So, what direction do you see Underground going right now?
Well, we want to expand. We want more locations.
Okay.
We're on a weird period of time right now. Things like SARMs are probably right on the verge of being banned entirely, becoming a Schedule 3 or 4 substance.
Other than just from the World Anti-Doping Association.
Other than that, I mean that's a good sales point too. You tell people something's banned by WADA, people want to buy it. They know it works. We want to expand, and we want it. It's very easy for me and my partner to talk to customers. It's our store. We care. I care if you come back. If you come to my store, I want you to get something that's going to help you do the things that you want to do. I want you to not pay an insane amount of money, and most importantly, I want you to come back. So we're in the process of, I'm sure all small businesses go through that, is trying to expand and then now have people in place that have our same vision. I can't pay somebody to care, and that's where these corporate stores fail, is that they're essentially paying people minimum wage as cashiers, and then putting expectations of sales on top of that for them. Right. So how do you pay somebody? How do you have employees that care and have the same vision? So we're very lucky. We already have one guy in place who's working in our store, who's been absolutely great. And now we're looking to sort of expand on that and pay people fairly, and to have people believe in the vision that he and I always had. So the idea is to grow, but not grow so big that we become out of control and become like the thing that we never wanted to become in the first place.
So get big, but still stay small and humble.
Get big, and exactly. It's like bodybuilding, like get big but not fat. So we actually we signed a lease. We're going to be opening a second location out in the Robbinsville area. That should be open sometime. We hope sometime in October. We're sort of at the mercy of the builders right now.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's right on the verge. I mean, that's hitting pretty darn close. And if you're looking at it just in October.
Oh yeah, it's a signed deal. It's in the process of being built. So there's been a lot of rain this month, and we're sort of just waiting for them to give us the keys. But that's a done deal, and it's very manageable. 2 stores with 2 partners. It's very manageable. We already have some full-time people in place. We have athletes and ambassadors who help us with our tables. We partner up with a lot of the supplement companies themselves to team up with us to go out to gyms and to sample stuff out. So everything is sort of in place and has been falling together. We're just trying not to push too hard that you get too big too fast. It kind of can spin out of control. But, one thing at a time, I guess, right now.
So going back a little bit and kind of talked about this before we started podcasting today, but with the big name supplement stores, they kind of carry whatever and have guys with big names who back them, at least with their name, put their picture on it, and say they use them. How do you guys choose what to carry in your store?
Okay, so initially, it's anecdotal. It's not exactly the most scientific approach, but there was a certain amount of companies that I really liked that I used. Okay. And I can use some examples, and trust me, it makes no difference when somebody comes in my store and they choose one product over another. It doesn't matter to me at the end of the day. There's no sales incentives. There's no names that I'm mentioning now is because, I get something out of it.
And if you believe in the product, is why
that's what I use myself.
So
right. So, you have to sort of break it down, individually. It's like, if you look at things like protein and vitamins and minerals, what companies can you trust? And you have to really know how to read a label. That's really what it comes down to. Specifically when it comes to, protein and stuff. Any company can say just about anything. It's very unregulated. But companies like NutriBio, for example, where their facility is open, it's right here in New Jersey. I'm pretty sure it's open to the public if you let them know, and they'll actually let you take a tour of the facility. But HPLC testing, and then being able to read a label, if it says 25 grams of protein, when you add up everything that's in there, it should be 25 grams, and so when you have to sort of trust the company. So a company like NutriBio is a great example. It's I can trust them. I take their multivitamin, I take their fish oil, I take their whey protein. I think they're a great company. They're clean, no issues at all. But you can compare that to companies on Amazon or these pyramid schemes where people are buying $400 protein cleanses. I won't even mention it.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
And you get the protein, you look at it, and it's concentrate and dairy creamer for flavoring, and it's just I don't understand how people can even drink it. It's
good marketing, right?
It's great marketing. It's great marketing because they know how to address water weight, and specifically in women, these companies have gotten very good at addressing water weight very fast. So they'll drop 8, 9, 10 pounds in the first 2 weeks on these cleanses, and it's pure water, and that's what people see that in.
But look at the success! Come on, you just lost 8 pounds.
8 pounds, and any fighter or any bodybuilder will tell you that you can cut 8 pounds overnight if you know how to manipulate water, and that's what a lot of these companies are gotten very good at doing, especially the ones where you have to buy into a $400 a month plan where you get supplements and it's really trash. It doesn't do anything. At the end of the day, it doesn't do anything. So I got off topic. What the hell am I talking about?
How do you guys choose what is in your product?
So initially it was anecdotal, and I'll be perfectly honest. People think that we're sort of rivals with another smaller company that's not so small anymore, it's JSS. But we had a good relationship with Brian from JSS, the guy who owns JSS. He used to sponsor me and my partner Alan. And when we first got started, he pointed us in the direction of some good companies and put us in touch with some of the reps. And I can't take that away from him at all. I mean, he was really cool in that way. And a lot of it was Enhanced Athlete was a company that I really liked. No matter what you think of Tony Huge, I thought he actually cared about the product. He wanted to make a lot of money, They actually cared about results for people. And so I kind of handpicked companies that I thought were good. And then over time, we allow companies to send us samples. And we will sample them out for free to our customers, and we'll ask for instant feedback. So when it comes to pre-workouts and stuff that's instantaneous, you can tell right away. We'd love to give stuff out to people. They will message us on Instagram and say, this is garbage, or this was awesome. And I would say probably 20 companies after that has been people asking us, MPA, for example, people just asked us to bring it in, and we did. It's a great product. It's expensive, but the stuff works. So a lot of it is like that, And I can't even deny, people ask for companies that I don't even necessarily like, but if that's what they want, then a lot of times we'll just bring it in. People are like, I really want CLA. I'm like, that doesn't really do anything. And they're like, I don't like it. And I'm like, okay, fine. We'll bring it CLA. But yeah, that's how we choose. Again, we're a retail store. We have to be able to make money. So we have to find companies that are willing to work with us. Everybody's trying to do the same thing. Everybody's trying to make enough money to survive and give people a decent product. So as long as we're able to work with the company, 9 times out of 10, we'll find a way.
I found, just listen to some other podcasters and talk to some other people that Amazon now is in the supplement game.
They are.
Yeah.
So
They're doing well, too.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And as you're talking about knowing how to read the labels, going through the ingredients on there, yeah.
I mean, proprietary blends, especially when it comes to diet and weight loss stuff, it's a $1 multi-million-dollar business just with the diet and weight loss stuff. So I really urge people in my store when they're talking about this stuff is to look at the studies. And there's only so much of these ingredients that there's actual scientific studies that back up any of the claims at all whatsoever. And then when you find a product that's a proprietary blend, with the exception of a few companies, and I'll give an example, let's say like Project AD, they use some proprietary blends, but they're a very good company, and they have to protect their ingredients in the way that they have them formulated, because people will wait for it to come out and copy it and put out a similar ingredient. So there are some companies that if they have a very good reputation, a proprietary blend with a pre-workout or maybe a fat burner would be understandable. But if you're just clicking on stuff on Amazon and it's some no-name $9 fat burner with all 5-star, 4-star reviews that are all shills paid to put reviews up, and you don't know what half this stuff is or what dosaging it is, it's 100% of the time going to be worthless, absolute trash, and not worth the $9.
Absolutely.
You might as well spend $50 on something where things, little things like L-carnitine. It's like there's science behind it. L-carnitine is cheap. You can get it for $20, and you can use it 2 times a day and boost your metabolism. And you can go online and read the actual medical studies that shows that this is a real thing. This is not just made up out of nowhere, And compared to a proprietary blend of 1,000 different things that's going to make you feel like you're going to die from a heart attack.
But I'm tingling, so it's got to work, right?
It works, right?
A lot of beta-alanine, I'm happy.
Caffeine and whatever else they're even using now. It's really, it's very difficult, and that's why I think people have responded well to us, because we have no problem. I'll have no problem telling somebody, even something in my store is not something I necessarily would use or think is very good. I have absolutely no problem doing that. I urge people to read the ingredients and there's one thing to look at the studies, but then it's to look at the effective dosaging. It's like, citrulline works. Citrulline doesn't work in a half a gram.
Correct.
Citrulline works like 6 to 8 grams,
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. You see that in so many products where they throw everything that's supposed to work, but there's not enough.
There's not enough. And it's not even close.
Right.
Or it'll be like last on the list in the proprietary blend, where it's like, the least in there.
Yep.
So I really think education, especially for people that are pretty new, I think another big problem I see is high stimulant pre-workouts. I think it's bad for bodybuilding. I think it's bad for people in general to use them to the extent that they're being used, where people are getting such a tolerance where they're going up 1 or 2 scoops. Using a high-stim pre-workout in your arsenal of tools on the leg day, once or twice a week, is absolutely fine. You don't even need to worry about vasodilation on a leg day. You're just trying to blow your legs out. You're just trying to as much stimulation as possible. Now, if you're using that same pre-work on arm day, back day, leg day, days off, and then really come in the store and you're like, I'm taking 3 scoops of this, I don't even feel it. I'm like, there's 350 milligrams of caffeine alone. The issue isn't the pre-workout. The issue is that you're overstimulating yourself, and stimulants are vasoconstrictors, and they're not great for bodybuilding. So it's another thing that I really try to push people in the direction of, especially for people who are new and trying to get into bodybuilding, is look for stuff for vasodilation. Focus more on pump and less on the energy part of it. You should want to be in the gym. You shouldn't have to drink the desire to be in the gym.
And I like a lot what you're saying with it, because I know a lot of people that they look just for, if they don't feel it, they think it's not working.
Yeah.
And because I knew people that they've pretty much replaced coffee with stimulant pre-workouts.
Yeah.
And it's, you can tell. After about 2 weeks in, you can tell that it's probably not the best idea for them to be doing.
It's not good for your adrenal glands. It's not good for bodybuilding. Just like the science of bodybuilding, what are you trying to do? Let's just talk about bodybuilding is to promote growth and shape in the muscle. And what you want to do in the gym is get as much blood and nutrients into that muscle while you're training to stretch the fascia, really damage the muscle. When you're taking heavy amounts of stimulants and constricting those blood vessels and not allowing nutrients in there, is that you're doing something that completely contradicts the whole act. Not to say that there isn't a time and a place for things like that. Cardio, for example, you might want to add some stimulants, increase your heart rate, sweat a little bit more. If you have, like I said, a hard leg day, an hour and a half leg day, you need the energy to push through, and you can sacrifice some of that vasodilation for training a little bit harder and longer. Great. But don't look at it to be like the motivation to walk into a gym.
If you're doing that, obviously you're not even ready to be in the gym yet.
Yeah, and if you're taking 200 or 300 milligrams of DMHA every day, you're not going to feel anything. It's like addicted to meth. It's not good.
Exactly. So you're also saying that you have sponsored athletes and ambassadors?
Yes, we do.
How did you guys come up with the idea to sponsor athletes, have ambassadors, and how do they come about, and what's some of their successes?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the truth about it. The truth is that initially people sort of came to us, all right, and we were so stoked that anybody would even want to be a part of what we were doing that we didn't really have the greatest of plans. We figured, yeah, sure. What do you do? Oh, you have an Instagram. Yeah. But as time went on, we sort of narrowed it down to we don't even really make the distinction, but there are obviously athletes, and those are the guys that are out there and girls that are competing at a high level, and we offer them basically a discount, and they have a discount codes for their friends that they can use online, and the same goes for the ambassadors. There's not a whole lot different. When we get new apparel and shirts in, we always try to hook them up as best as possible. But I think we're going in a direction now where we're going to start to make sort of a distinction where a lot of the ambassadors are going to be, and athletes are going to be a little bit more a part of doing the tables. For example, Tommy Giggs, he's a high-level bodybuilder. The guy is phenomenal. He was one of the first people. He's been there almost from the beginning. And this guy works at a bagel store, gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning, works all day. He'll come to my store, pick up a table, go do a table for us, a demo table for us, and then go train and do it all over again. And it's like, we never even asked these things. It's just sort of like people became friends with us, and we became friends with them, and we want to promote them and what they're doing, because bodybuilding is tough, man. It's not like, if you're not on this Mr. Olympia stage, if you're not the top 10, like, you're struggling, if you don't have a deal, and there's not a lot of deals out there, you're struggling. You're working a regular job. You're training 5 or 6 days a week. You're eating like either a maniac or nothing at all, and for very little return. To get up there on stage and put it all out there, and hope that those judges were looking for you as that particular package. And we have guys like him and his friend Q who came to us, Nicole. We have some really high-level people who just sort of asked to be a part of it, or we reached out to them, and it's no contracts. We don't do any of that stuff. It's just like it's really just cross-promotion and helping each other out. I think once we get a little bit bigger, well, not bigger, but once
don't get that now.
Once we start expanding a little bit more, we might streamline the whole thing and make it a little bit more of a distinction and sort of change it around a little bit in terms of how we go about it. But right now, it's working. Everybody's pretty happy, I think.
Just don't ask them. They're happy.
Don't ask them personally. But yeah, that's pretty much how it's kind of loose. I'll be honest with you. It's pretty loose in terms of like how it all goes down. It's like we got. It seems like we just have a bunch of friends who happen to compete and met us in this way, and we support them and they support us. How long that model will go on for is probably maybe get away with that for another 6 or 7 months, and then maybe have to have it a little bit more of official capacity. But we don't ask. We're not like, hey, you have to post something every week.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? We don't ask anything. And for the most part, they don't ask anything of us, really. We do what we can within reason, and they do what they can within reason, and that's how it's worked. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's stupid, I don't know.
It sounds pretty healthy.
I mean,
it's going.
It's obviously working right now, right?
Right now, listen, we really try. The whole underground thing was, we really try to be, me and Alan are both lifters. We've been in the gym for years. We've power lifted. We've done. I'm a wannabe bodybuilder. I think he's like mountain climber now or something. I don't know what the hell he did, kickboxing or something. But we're both in that world, and we're not like the pretty boy. We never wanted that image. We never wanted to be trying to look cooler than we really are. At the end of the day, we were just like, we like to lift weights. We had our own reasons for wanting to do it, and those are the kind of people that I think are drawn to what we do, because we're not trying to push anything or a particular image. We're for the guy who's a strong man. We're for the guy who does CrossFit. We're for the girl who does, bikini. For the girl that does CrossFit. For the person that's just starting. For the guy who's been training for 10 years and was in their 90s with the fanny packs. And that's what we kind of like appeal. We like all of it, we think all of it's cool, so that's sort of the direction that we picked, and it's what we're trying to stay on, we don't want to be anything more or less than what we believe in.
So you got hats, you got t-shirts,
we got everything.
Fanny packs?
Do
you have fanny packs?
We found these cut-off hoodies, like they're like sweatshirts, and they're zip-ups, and they're like, there's something you would see out of like the late 80s. It is like, they're like embarrassing. Like, I don't even know if anybody would even want to wear them.
I've seen people wear them, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But they're like kind of cool. But they're kind of cool. So like, I got them and I'm like, I don't think I could wear that. Like, I would be that guy in the gym wearing a cut-off hoodie. But I saw them online. I'm like, we have to do these. It's super cool, right? And he's like, I don't know. And like, we got them, and everyone's like, ooh, can I get one? Maybe I'll wear it outside or something. But we do t-shirts, we do hats, we do light hoodie, we do everything. We do every color scheme. We're like running out of color schemes. I was in like a shoe store the other day taking pictures of like Adidas color schemes, because I have no idea what to even do with colors anymore. Like, I don't even know where to go. Like, they're like, what do you want mock-ups? I'm like, I have no idea. We've done every color.
Sounds like they're flying off the shelves then, at least.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that we did early on, is that we sort of just factored in. I mean, we sell them for $10, right? So
it's not bad at all.
No, we at no point did we want to make money. We're not a clothing company. And to be honest with you, you're wearing our shirt. Like, you're advertising for us. You know what I mean? So why should you have to pay me? Why should I profit off of you advertising? And that was always our mindset from it, So with a lot of people, if you spend a decent amount of money in our store, we'll throw you one. You know, if we know we have new shirts coming and we have a bunch of old ones, you know, kind of just like if you come in the store and we know you a lot, like we'll throw them to you, give them to our athletes. You know, on a normal day they're $10. For our tanks are $10. For our hoodies and hats, they're a little bit more because these are like embroidered and we have to pay a little bit more, but it's not really a profit thing. We just want people to like it, you know. I don't want you to paint your house in it. I want you to train in it. That was the main thing. We wanted to get a good quality shirt. We thought the logo was cool. Like when we first saw it, you don't know what people are going to think. Like it's weird, you know what I mean? It's like a logo. Like we saw like hundreds of them. We had given the logo people like our vision, you know, like I wanted an arrow, like a downward arrow.
Uh-huh.
We wanted it to be like in a way like a Nike, like, or we didn't want it to say underground. We wanted it to be a logo that stood on its own. And we wanted it to be something that a 40-year-old mother of 2 would be comfortable wearing and the 19-year-old bodybuilder would be comfortable wearing. And I think it's cool. We didn't want it to be skulls and weights or a pit bull or anything like that. You know, underground is a little bit edgy enough as a, you know, in terms of the name of a store. We didn't want it to be like you have to be like a death metal fan to like underground. And we saw logo after logo, and they were sending us some really, really bad ones with like leaves and like just terrible. And we were sitting in the diner, we were going through, like, we got another group of 5. We both saw it, and we're like, that's the one. That's definitely cool. That's what we're looking for. And it seems like people like it, you know. Like I said, I was telling you before, like I see a guy like walking his dog in my shirt, you know, or be at the boardwalk and see somebody wearing my shirt. They don't know who I am, you know. It's cool. It's a cool feeling.
Of course it is.
Yeah. I mean, we give a lot out, so like, I was like drop them out of the helicopter, you know. But it's cool. You go to any gym around here, you'll see somebody wearing it, and it's not just me, you know. So it's a pretty cool feeling. To know that at least you got that right, you know.
Absolutely.
So we got a lot of positive feedback on it, so that's pretty neat. You know.
So how about top supplement stacks for fat loss? Someone comes into the store and says, I want to lose body fat.
Are we doing natty? Are we talking natty?
We'll go both ways.
All right, so I'll talk to you how I talk to a customer. The first thing when somebody's like, I need to lose weight, I always ask what their training and their diet is. And if they say their training is shit and their diet, can you curse here?
You just did. You're good.
If their training isn't there and their diet isn't there, we talk about that first and foremost. Okay. Next question after that is when we're talking about fat loss, okay, and where you're not worried about muscle. Let's just say you're overweight and you're just trying to address fat loss.
Mm-hmm.
Then we talk about, can you handle stimulants? How do you handle coffee? You know, and if it's somebody who can't handle stimulants, that they don't like it, then we talk about the non-stimulant fat burner stuff. You know, which my favorite of all of them is L-carnitine.
Mm-hmm. I
use it myself. I think there's enough evidence out there to show that it works to some degree to help increase your metabolism. And then, and this is my personal feeling, I think CLA is garbage, and I don't think it works.
Every ounce of research I've seen says it's garbage. It works great in rats.
It works
not in the human body for some reason.
Well,
you're not a rat?
I find that people on a ketogenic diet there may be a place for it, but we're pushing it. You know, I really think it's something that you could spend your money somewhere else.
Right.
You know, but with somebody who's stimulant sensitive, I really try to stress to them exercise, a protein powder, or at least a meal replacement where the protein is in isolate. We really want to reduce lactose in people's diets. I think dairy in itself should be reduced in almost everybody's diet, right next to sugar. Sugar and dairy are probably, in my opinion, some of the worst stuff out there, you know, wreaking havoc on people's bodies. But sugar is the top dog. Get rid of it. And then we address things like lactose. Mm-hmm. So a good whey protein isolate if you're in the gym. If you're not in the gym, you might not need it. But I like, Evogen has a product called Lipicide. It is basically a pre-workout, but it's a fat burner pre-workout. It's instant release. It's got capsaicin in it. It's got a little bit of caffeine. It will increase your heart rate. It'll make you sweat. You'll lose some water weight. It'll give you energy for your cardio if you're somebody who's, again, not sensitive to stimulants. They also have a powdered L-carnitine, which is dosed correctly, that you can mix with that, or you can buy a liquid L-carnitine. Then I have a multitude of fat burners that range from very strong, and as you guys probably know, somebody here?
That happens every once in a while.
Yeah, I understand. That's what I did to the people next door. I just walked in and she's like, then we talk about fat burner pills. So they're tiered to very high stimulants, where things like DMHA and DMAA. Mm-hmm. And you have to explain what these are to people. DMAA is essentially molecularly very similar to Adderall. It's not quite in the meth family, but that's how it's designed. And
right.
It's an appetite suppressant. It is a stimulant, and it will work to help you lose weight, absolutely. But you have to know what you're getting into. You know, if you're taking DMAA, if you're taking a drug test, you could trigger a false negative,
yes, you
false
could.
positive.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then those go tiered down to things that are relatively mild. When it comes to fat loss, there's no pill that you can take that is going to help you keep weight off. You know, it might help you lose some water weight, might help you lose a few extra pounds, but at the end of the day, it's going to be diet and exercise, with the exception of the not natural stuff. And I'll talk about that. Specifically cardarine. And this is something I also tell my customers. Number one, it's a research peptide. It's not for human consumption. But let's say you are researching it. We'll talk about what could happen.
If you're Ricky Gerard, CrossFit Games,
he
found out what happens when you use it too close to competition. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't. Yes. There's a lot of bans, but more importantly than that, there is actual research on it, and this is something that I tell my customers too. There is a cancer study where they gave rats a certain amount. I believe it was the equivalent of taking like an entire bottle for a human being every day for 2 years. They all got cancer and died. That's the fact of the study. On the flip side of that, there's also an antioxidant study that in lower doses had an antioxidant effect. So you can take that with a grain of salt. You know, you can take it how you want. But things like cardarine, the Endurable, they call it exercise in the bottle, and it will work in that way. It oxidizes fat as energy, and it also greatly increases your cardiovascular ability by, and this is not scientific, so please don't quote me, but essentially increasing oxygen into your muscles. So somebody who has a difficult time doing 30 minutes of cardio will find that 30 minutes of cardio is very easy in comparison. Mm-hmm. More cardio you can do, more calories you can burn, more weight you lose.
Makes sense.
Another one that I don't particularly like is SR9009. That needs to be dosed very frequently in order for it to be effective. That's not something I personally recommend, although there are people who do like it and find a place for it. Again, you are crossing a line. You're no longer natural. You can get rid of that hashtag once you start using these things, although I know plenty of people who still hashtag natty, and I know for a fact. That's how I would talk to a customer about, you know, and also there's a time and a place. And everybody who comes in, they're SARMs, and then even though those two particular things are not actually SARMs, there is a place for things like that if that's what your personal choice is. Mm-hmm. It is not for everybody. For most people, unfortunately, and a lot of people don't want to hear this, is that it's the diet and exercise. That you will lose just as much weight as a person.
Those are almost curse words. So
it's not sexy. It's not glamorous. I mean, I got to eat right and move. No.
You know, it's a very strange culture. The fitness culture is very strange. I mean, I would pay money to see the study of the people that were like on 40 micrograms of clenbuterol, and the people that believe they're on 40 micrograms of clenbuterol and doing the same exact sort of exercise. I mean, clenbuterol obviously works, but I would not be surprised to find that people will lose weight if they just they would just get up and do their fasted cardio and stop eating the sugars, and know what carbohydrates do in the body and when you should eat them. They need time and a place for everything. That's the biggest thing that we stress. So
I love how you push, just doing a crap ton of research.
I
think it's really important.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't do that. No.
Family-friendly podcast.
Well,
Yeah, nobody does. I mean, it's very rare. I mean, look, I was guilty of it in the beginning too. Like I was watching when I first started lifting. I wanted to. I would watch Jay Cutler videos, and I was basically just like copying what I see them eating and what I thought people were taking. Like I was taking carb powder and not even using it while I was training. I was just drinking carb powder like throughout the day. Wondering why I'm like 270. Like why am I not losing weight? Just sipping on carb powder all day. Like I made plenty of mistakes. I get it, and there's a ton of misinformation out there. There's a ton of people who are trying to make a money on people who want to lose weight or to get big, So
That's the thing, though. I mean, you're talking about doing the research and biohacking your own body, figuring out what works.
Yeah.
If you know it works and not just think it works, but you actually can test yourself and see how it works along the way, then it must work.
Yeah, and people are different. This is what it's very interesting when you look at the coaches with high level bodybuilders. What one guy's, and they're on the same stage, they're at the same weight. What one guy is eating in his training regimen and his cardio regimen is versus the guy next to him could be completely different. This guy could be next to 0 carbs to be in that condition, and this guy could be eating up to 1,000 carbs a day, up to a week before the show. So everybody's genetics, we're all bound by our genetics. Everybody's different. What I eat in a day, if somebody else were to eat in a day, would have a completely different result. So it's very, very important to really learn your body. And I think the same is true with supplements. It's what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you. There's a body of scientific research out there that we can all draw from, but at the end of the day, it's did you take it? Did it work? Did it not work? And that's it. Did you use it properly? And
did you use the right amount?
Did you use the right amount? Were you eating like crap? Were you actually going to the gym? But genetics plays a way bigger role than a lot of people would like to admit. But
how about flip side, muscle growth? What would you recommend for that?
Okay, we'll do the
Yep.
same thing. Muscle growth is a little more, again, we talk immediately about diet. What I find with most guys who are I can't get to 200 pounds no matter what I do. Or they'll ask me, what do you take? And I'm like, what did you eat today? Just tell me what you ate today. And inevitably it'll be I skipped breakfast, but I had a protein bar. And I'm like, okay, well, there's your problem. Right there's I've already had 3 meals, But from the supplements, let's say that their diet is pretty much on point, and it seems like they're eating right and they're training right. For natural guys, I really like creatine. Creatine monohydrate seems to be the thing that everybody has forgotten actually works. And yeah, it does promote intracellular water and some water, but water is good. Water is good for growth. It's good for lifting weights. It's good for getting big. So if you can sort of take that out of your mind and stop worrying about water weight so much. Your muscles are mostly water anyway. Retaining some water while you're bulking is a positive thing. Calories, again, every 2.5 hours, 3 hours, you should be eating a meal. If you're trying to get big, that's the case. For guys who have a really difficult time getting those calories in because they have a demanding job, I don't like mass gainers. I really don't. But for some people, they might need something like that. Redcon 1 makes a really good meal replacement that's not marketed as a mass gainer, but it's actual rolled oats and whole foods, good protein sources, and it's a way to squeeze in some extra calories. What else for getting big? I mean, even stupid things people would forget things like fish oil. Fish oil is really important. Omega-3s, omega-6s. A lot of people don't eat fish. You'd be surprised in the male body, or some of you guys might not be, but how much healthy fats play an integral role in healthy hormone balances. Now, not natural is a little bit more easy to talk about because you can sort of forego a lot of the genetic stuff and the calories.
Genetically alter yourself.
Hey.
You can genetically alter yourself now. Yeah. Again, this is another thing where it's like you have to really walk a line with. There is nobody who comes into any one of our stores where I say you should,
Right.
ever. But if you came in the store and you said, I was talking or researching X, Y, and Z, you know, my opinion is you should stay natural for as long as humanly possible. You know, if you're 21 years old, you have no business taking anything at all, unless you're going to be a professional bodybuilder, and that's going to be your life choice, and that's going to pay your bills, or a professional athlete. Listen, I don't pass judgment. If that's the way you want to do it, that's the way you want to do it. But if you're just some gym rat and you're trying to put muscle on, at 20 all the way up to 30, you should probably kind of stay natural and work hard. But I personally have seen a lot of success with the more milder SARMs, with like Ostrine, that they can be used properly and with the least amount of side effects for muscle growth and the least amount of damage to your natural testosterone. When you compare that to a Ligandrol, which is extremely strong, pack size on, but it's going to shut you down. Your testosterone is going to plummet, and you're going to have to PCT, and you're going to have to hope that you genetically can bounce back from something like that quickly. Those two are probably the most popular. There's the myostatin inhibitors like YK11, which I've used, and I can tell you guys that I've used just about everything that you could possibly imagine, and that stuff, man, no good. No good. I was doing it last year. I was doing a bulking contest with the store, and I just wanted to beat Alan. That was man. I'm like, I'm going to beat Alan, and in 4 weeks I went from like 260. This is true. From like 262 to 290. I was like 291 was like, and my ankles were like the size of my quads. And people were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I think I made a mistake. I was like completely shut down, completely suppressed, and I came off of everything, and I I went on a keto diet for just get rid of some of the weight. I went right back from 290 back into like the high 260s in like something crazy like 6 or 7 days. You know, it was all over. Yeah,
wow.
That's insane.
You could press into my ankles. You know, like. I don't try that at home. You know?
YK11.
YK11 was like
cross off the list.
One of those things that I had never used before, and I had seen some of the literature on it. And it's supposed to be a myostatin inhibitor. And now, keep in mind, I was not taking at the time. I was using whatever, and I added that in. That was one variable that I had not used before, and I was eating like a monster, and I was lifting super heavy. And boy, man, I don't know if I can't blame it. I would never, you can pay me to take it again. I would never, it's like dead to me. People like ask you like, oh, what about YK11? I'm like, oh, no, no, you shouldn't take that. It's terrible, But to answer your question with muscle growth, I ask people what their training is, and I like heavy lifting for muscle growth. I really like more of a power building type lifting split, and I like it to increase calories with whole food if possible. If not, something like MRE. I do like branched chain amino acids intra-workout only, even if you're cutting or even if you're bulking. I like BCAAs and I like EAAs, so something like Intrablast where it's a combination of the two, because I go crazy myself between the war about the EAAs, BCAAs, which one does what. So just take them both, like whatever. You can find products with them both in it, and then you can eliminate the whole controversy. I don't like to drink them all day. I like them only for training. I like to use super carb or any kind of carb powder that's cyclic dextrin, something that's very easy to digest. What might work for me might not work for somebody else in terms of digestibility. With a little bit of Gatorade, I like that intra-workout. For guys who are bulking, your carbohydrate intake pre, intra, and post are paramount. You need those carbohydrates if you're going to be pushing heavy weight and you're going to be forcing muscle growth. That's where you're really going to find the carbohydrates work the best, is especially intra. I mean, I like the combination of the EAAs and the BCAAs with a fast-acting carbohydrate, and then the simple sugar that's in Gatorade. This is the only time I recommend taking some kind of sugary drink to boost your insulin. Insulin is a storing hormone that is going to push all of those amino acids. And again, this is very bro science. I get that, but this is sort of the model that if you look at any of the coaches that are out there, top level coaches, you will find a version of this in every single one of them. Is the combination of a carbohydrate, it's like a cyclic dextrin, a sugary carbohydrate like Gatorade, with your amino acids. Some guys like to put protein in there. It doesn't really matter. It's going to boost your insulin while you're training. The insulin is going to push those amino acids, branched chain amino acids, into the muscle cells. It's going to push the water. And I also like Himalayan sea salt right before you train. So some people put it in a pre-workout. I think that's gross. I put it on a jelly. I put it on a jelly on a rice cake. And something that's really fast digesting. And again, whey protein, completely overused in the industry. Me personally, and I'm 260 pounds, I use whey protein 5 days a week, and those are only on training days, 50 grams. I mix it with cream of rice, and that's my post-workout meal. On my days off, I don't drink protein. I eat meals. So guys who are drinking 3-4 shakes a day, I think you're...
It's incredible.
I think you're crazy.
Yeah.
I think you're really missing... There's something to be said for Whole Foods. I mean, I get it. People don't have time, to make meals. And in that case, gun to your head, it's no food or a protein shake. Drink the protein shake. But meal prep, somebody said to me a long time ago, if you're not meal prepping, you're not training, And it took me a while to understand it, but it's true. The times I've looked the best, the times I've hit my goals the easiest is when my meals for the week are planned out, packed up, and ready to go. The times where I was missing the mark are those times where I was just eating on instinct, just driving around and stopping at the store or, making whatever for dinner. Am I answering any of these questions?
I think you're answering them well.
I feel like I don't know. I'm going to have to listen to this later.
Then you got to hear your voice. I don't know. Still powerlifting at all?
No. No, let me tell you something about powerlifting. This is another thing. I had an epiphany watching, I don't know, who was it? I want to say Dan Green. I met Dan Green. I went to one of his benching seminars, and look, I'm 6'3". I got a long way to go, whether I'm pressing or pulling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long, even with the craziest arch of my life, I got a 3-foot push, So then I'm watching these guys who are hitting 500 on the bench, and in my weight class, in order to be good, you have to be pulling in the 8s. You have to be squatting in the high 7s, 8s, and probably above. And you have to be pulling, you have to be pulling or bench pressing 5 at least. And it just, I knew it wasn't going to happen, or I knew what it would take in order for me to get to that level. And that would be most likely get injured before that ever happened. And the amount of food and sacrifice that you have to put towards something that I knew I wasn't going to be the best at. And this is the same applies to bodybuilding. People ask me why I don't compete. Because in the best case scenario is that if I'm looking at myself objectively, in the mirror or on the platform, I'm not going to be top 10 in the state, let alone in the world. And then I know how much pressure I put on myself just to pull 660 in the RPS. I was out of my mind. And nobody remembers it. Anybody there that day, you'd be like, do you remember what you deadlifted? And they'd be like, I don't know. Who cares, And, who cares?
Shame, right?
Yeah, who cares? And I just put myself under an enormous amount of stress. Long story short is I don't powerlift anymore is because I knew I wasn't going to be the best. And in order for me to even come close to getting to be a good powerlifter, I would have to sacrifice probably every relationship, and there would be no business, and there would be just me single-minded, I have to lift this weight, I'm not very good at finding a balance between those things. It's all or nothing. So now my training reflects more of, I want to look like I can lift a lot of weight. I want somebody to be like, do you think that guy can bench 500 pounds? And like, yeah, definitely. Not a chance. But, I just want to be healthy. I'm in a bulking phase right now. I get blood work done. I go to a doctor. I do things very differently than I did 4 years ago. You trust me on that. It's I want to have kids. I want to eventually, I want to live till I'm past 60. So if you want those things, you need to really. Bodybuilding is not a healthy sport. I mean, bodybuilding in its competitive form is not a healthy sport.
Right.
Bodybuilding for yourself can be healthy. You're walking a line. No human body wants to be 260 pounds at even 15% body fat. It just doesn't. And in order for it to do that, you're making it work very hard. And big guys who are in 250 plus, blood has to circulate through muscle. Blood doesn't need to circulate through fat. So a guy who's 250 pounds and maybe 25% body fat might in reality be more healthy than a guy who's 15% body fat at the same weight over time. It's something, you see all these bodybuilders who are trying to lose all the weight that they, mass monsters who were 300 pounds back in the day, like Dave Palumbo, and now he's like 198. He's trying to get smaller because they know, anybody with a brain knows that that is not a sustainable life. You'll die young.
Body just can't handle that.
Yeah. So no, I don't powerlift.
Gotcha.
I don't pull from the floor anymore. I squat, but I squat pretty me 3 years ago would be like making fun of me now in the gym. Look at this guy, kidding me? I squat. I train for hypertrophy. I train in the 12 to 15 rep range. I do try to increase. I try to go pretty heavy when I'm trying to put weight on, but heavy is moderate. Your muscles don't know. I try to tell people this. Your chest does not know 225 from 400 pounds. If you know how to train properly, you can make 135 pounds feel like 400 pounds. I mean, scientifically, you're not going to put on the most amount of muscle that way. But if you know how to train and you know what your body can handle, you can sort of walk that line of lifting moderately heavy weight properly and putting muscle mass on, for sure. Not everything needs to be free weight, although I think I got a lot of my size from pulling from the floor, squatting, and bench pressing. And I think for guys who are just starting out, everybody should do the big three to the best of their ability, because that puts on a quality of muscle that you're not going to get from machines, a thickness, a density. But you don't have to kill yourself doing it. You really don't. And then learning how to train hypertrophy and knowing how to train the smaller muscles and tricks to your shoulders. People how do you have such big rear delts? I train them. Why do I have such small calves? Why do you have such small calves? Because my dad has small calves and there's nothing I can do about it. So it's just one of those things, But yeah, and Alan, my partner, he does a lot of jiu-jitsu and stuff now. And he goes on 3-day hikes. He's like a mountain man. We used to just go to the gym and squat. Now I go to the gym and do chest, and he goes and hikes in the mountains. It's very bizarre.
Finding himself, I guess.
He is. He found he almost had to get rescued. That's a funny story.
Hey, you said you were going to embarrass him because he's not hiking himself.
He went hiking, and this was recently. He went hiking, and I think him and his wife, they had to call 911. She unfortunately hurt her ankle. Thankfully, it wasn't too bad. But he had managed to pick, there's 3 trails out of 200, and 3 are the most expert. You have to, and trust me, he's not an expert. He can walk around, but he's not an expert hiker. He's not scaling a wall. He's a big guy. He's 252.
Yeah.
So she kind of mildly hurt her ankle, but it's got swollen the next day. And now this is a hike that's 3 days. They brought their stuff with them.
Okay.
Sleeping out sleeping out in the woods, spiders. What, you guys are nuts. Making campfires. What do you do on the third? There's no shower. What are you guys doing out there? It's crazy people, right? So he said he got to one part of the trail where it was a 50-foot sheer drop off, and you didn't have any they don't know how to do that, He's they would die, So they had to call 911, and the mountain rescue people live on the mountain apparently had to come and rescue them. And he sent me the link because I hadn't heard from him the whole week, and I was do we have a call? What happens if one of us dies? Do I get the business? I don't even know. I'd probably be a person of interest. So it was in a newspaper. There's an article where there's a New Jersey woman and husband and wife who have no business being on this trail had to be rescued. But thankfully she was.
You got to find that and put in the show notes.
Oh, I got one. Yeah, we'll
I can send you the link. Yeah.
Please
do. No problem. But yeah, I think he's camping now. I don't even know what he's doing. But yeah, he's going to be an expert camper. He also shoots a compound bow, he wanted to be like an archer, and he was going to hunt. He's never hunted before.
That was good.
Yeah,
Very
he's
good.
like waving around in the parking lot. I'm like, dude, I don't even think you can. He's like one of those guys that he gets it in his head, and he'll spend like a couple $1,000s on all the gear. He's like, gonna be like Rambo. Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up, any parting thoughts here?
Don't ask me. I don't.
Was it?
Was it good? How did it compare?
I don't know. I'll tell you when.
I'll
tell you the ratings.
What's the highest rating you've had?
Right now, we're getting
Is that a weird question?
we're getting over 1,000 listens per podcast so
yeah.
far.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
we'd love to grow this to obviously hit the
couple-
million, but
Add a couple more
let's get to
zeros,
10,000, 50, 100, and
Yeah, and listen, if you guys want to talk to any of the athletes, I'm sure any one of them would probably want to do it for sure. So just
Love
let
it.
me know.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we got some good guys who are probably going to go places. So
good stuff. Well,
And of course, you're more than welcome back too.
yeah,
Yeah.
we should have
You're
and if
easier
Alan
to
doesn't
talk
want
to,
to
Scott.
bring you and he wants to talk dirt on you, then he can do that too.
Let you go get lost in the woods for a week.
Yeah, no, I'm never going to do it. You know what glamping is? Glamping? It's like glam camping. It's like these places.
You're making stuff up.
It's called glamping. Look it up. They have these it's for guys like me. It's like out in the woods, and there's like a shower and like a fire pit that you can just like turn on. You're outside. Don't get me wrong. Like it's enough. It's kind of camping. And then they have these really nice tents with like inflatable mattresses, and look it up. It's like super cool. I would do that. That's no problem. You can park your car
sounds
right
pretty
next to your tent. You can see people. Like you there's your neighbors.
It's like just going in your backyard
Got
and
the
camping.
big screen TV set
It's
up
like
in the
that.
tent.
It's like if you just went to bed. If you
I'm going in the pool. I'm going in the lake is the pool. And
just left your bedroom window open. It's similar to that.
Got the mini bar over in the corner.
Yeah, just get a hotel.
there you go.
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, Scott.
I'm pretty sad.
Cool.
And thank you, Scott, from Underground Nutrition and his silent partner over there in the corner.
Yeah, don't talk to me. But thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here.
Cool.
For this last part of the podcast here, Dr. Mike,
That would be me. Mad Scientist Jim.
I'm out.
Hey.
If you've liked this podcast of Biohack Humans, which I have no idea why you would not, please feel free to leave a 5-star honest review and let us know what you like.